everybody, good morning and welcome to the WOLFGUARD Zone. Our topic today is providing IT support to remote-only companies or staff, and some of the challenges and must-haves that you should make sure are in place for providing IT support in those situations. Today I have George as a guest. George, you want to give a quick introduction?
Sure. So my name is George. I'm with Monroy IT Services, and we're based out of San Antonio. And essentially what we do is we provide IT department as a service, which basically means when someone hires us, we're going to make sure that they have everything that they need according to how their business runs.
Yeah, great. So on the topic today, with providing remote support to remote-only companies, we're hoping to just kind of give helpful information to business owners just so they can take this information or these points and go and have a chat with their existing internal IT or outsourced IT. Hopefully we'll provide some valuable information that you can just have a discussion with or improve what you have. Of course, we're always happy to help you with your IT as well, but this is more meant to just help educate. So, George, on providing remote support to companies, I'm trying to think of, if there was a company that even before COVID was just all their staff was remote, or maybe COVID pushed them to be all remote. Maybe they still are. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But there's kind of different challenges or different ways that you got to do things when a company has their staff all remote compared to just being in your local town. Different practices, policies, security, many different things you got to talk about. The first thing that kind of comes to mind for me is that if they're remote, the staff could be in many different time zones. And so if you're in Central, I'm in Mountain Time, and we have a customer in Houston, Texas, in Central.
Mm-hmm.
So they are opening at 7 o'clock our time,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also have different companies that we support that are in Dublin, Ireland, and China, and most are in Montana, but they're spread apart. And
Right.
when you need support, and you can't really wait for someone to open. And so I think the point I'm trying to make is 24-hour support is pretty important.
Yeah, I would agree. I think for any company, definitely that's spread throughout the world or throughout the United States, you do need to have a 24/7 IT support, and even just any business that has upper level executives. They work at all kinds of odd hours. So last thing you want is for the CEO or CFO, especially, to the machine to go down and there's no one available to call. So yeah, definitely 24/7 support probably would be step one for businesses that are spread out.
Right, right. And I generally I've noticed that at least for us, and I think a lot of others, as well, that you can do the majority of the support that you need to do remotely, with today's technology and tools and remote access and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. But there are also still the needs to be local for
Mm-hmm.
some items. Set up a new computer. Wi-Fi isn't working. I don't really want to have to talk to someone over the phone that's a client trying to help them go through menus and different things.
Right.
They don't want to deal with that. That's not what they hired us for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so having local support as an option, I think, is another big item.
Yeah, that could be pretty important. We do have a client that is spread throughout the United States, and as far as onboarding new machines, essentially they come to us, the machines, we set them up, put all our remote and security tools on them, and then we ship them to wherever the employee is. this company pretty much is 100% remote. I believe there's only 2 people that actually go into the main office. So we've definitely dealt with that. And having on-site is local support is a big deal. Mainly if a machine goes down, or also one way you can mitigate that as well is having spares in different regions, because their employees are kind of at customer sites, so they service other customers themselves. So
Yeah.
spares, having local on site, both of those things work as well. But really, it's all about having processes and procedures that everyone's on board with, so you can have everything done in an efficient manner and quick manner as well. I think that's pretty important. And a lot of times, businesses don't even have procedures. So that's one thing that we help our clients with, is to figure out what is going to be the best way to support them, what's going to help them onboard and offboard in a proper manner and consistent manner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Like you said, is those process and procedures. Know the plan, know the situation before you get into those situations. A more mature company, IT company, has already been through these different situations, knows what to expect or to do when certain things happen. Um, we've configured wireless access points, had them shipped here, configure them, and then ship them over. And if the customer is okay with just plugging them in on a network cable, then that's fine. But I think one advantage that you and me have, just being part of the 20, is just this nationwide um, presence, for all these different techs as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you had a company that, say, one of their staff is here in Montana,
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, we can just, we're all using the same processes and procedures and tools, and you can give us a call up, and then we'll just send a tech down the road and, set up the new printer or whatnot.
Yeah, having that, being a member of the 20 is huge for us for sure. Having access to members all over. I mean, I've helped the 20 members out before, and I've been helped as well too. So I think that gives us a leg up to be able to support any company that's in multiple cities.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, some staff people are okay, or like working with us to try and figure things out, but actually having that option, just send a tech, show up, is a great value item, I think.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Another item that I see being really important when a company has staff working remotely is, they're probably working out of their house, or if they're traveling out of different hotels, but security.
Mm-hmm.
They're not at a company where you have proper security in place, like a good enterprise level firewall at the office.
Mm-hmm.
They're behind little maybe Linksys routers, unsecured situations at hotels. And so picking the right different security and multi-layered security to have installed on the different computers is pretty important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've aside from being an IT department for our clients, we also have access to a SOC partner. So they provide a lot of security tools, active monitoring, providing secure connections, especially for people that are on the road or working from home. Those are all items that are needed, especially to protect company information. So that's been very valuable for us as well. Most IT companies may or may not even know how to provide a full IT department, much less get into the security space. So I'll be the first one to say I'm not a cybersecurity expert. I've educated myself and spoken to people that are much smarter than me in that area. But the most important smart thing that I did was partner with a high quality SOC and cybersecurity company so that they can manage that piece for me, and we work well with them and they work well with us. And that's been, it really helps me sleep well every night, knowing that they're watching our clients from a security perspective.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of another positive part of being in the 20s, having all these different relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Another item which is part of security, but I'm going back to thinking how a company is if they're at all in office, you have
Mhm.
your firewall, you have maybe a local server, but with a local server, you can use that to push, updates or patch management, or that sort of thing. And when you're all remote, of course, you don't have always that server that can push that. So making sure that your remote management tool that the IT is using can take that over and schedule and reinforce patch management is real important, as well as the security monitoring, like you mentioned, and then multi-factor. Is
Mhm.
everybody should have multi-factor these days.
Yeah, multi-factor authentication is huge. We have some clients that are behind on some of those items, and then we have others that are utilizing it. Obviously, that's a priority for us is to add multi-factor authentication to every system that we possibly can, where it makes sense. There's a fine balance between security and being able to work. So I'll just speak to this real quickly. Is that there's an IT department which their main function is to support when issues come up. They're also supposed to be proactive and do project work, do the general things that make the company run more efficient, make the employees waste less time, be able to do their jobs essentially. Then you have, on the other hand, the cybersecurity department, which all they want to do is lock everything down, make sure everything is secure, and no bad guys can get in or do anything. Unfortunately, sometimes cybersecurity lends itself to making it harder for employees to do their job. So the IT department and the cybersecurity department are two totally different departments, different skill sets, different mindsets, different objectives, and oftentimes they clash. So with us, it's a fine balance in figuring out, what can we do to make things efficient for our clients? Which are the riskiest areas from a cybersecurity standpoint that we need to protect? And just make sure that the employees can do their work, but at the same time, it's in the most secure manner that is going to allow them to operate their business. I mean, you could add so many layers of security that it's impossible for anyone to do their job, and then there's no
Right.
business, right? So that's really a very important thing to keep in mind, that they are two different departments. You cannot just hire any IT company and expect to get security. Totally different mindsets, different objectives, and it's a matter for us of striking that fine balance, managing that for our clients, so they don't have to figure it out. But I mean, if you have your own internal IT department, then you probably need to either outsource a SOC or uh, unless you want to develop a SOC yourself, in your own company, which doesn't make sense, then you got to figure out how those two departments work and make sure that they both can do what they need to without stepping on each other's feet, or most importantly, keeping the business from running. The business has to run ultimately at the end of the day, but it needs to do so in the most secure manner, possible.
Right. Yeah, I'd say that's one big item that I've noticed when we onboard a new company is, then we do a discovery and onboarding and see what's in place. And almost always, security overall is very minimally used. And I think that kind of goes with what you're talking about is a lot of these IT companies, they don't have a SOC or security, operation center, or cybersecurity group, whatever you want to call it. And so they're just looking as a technician, not as a security person. What do I need? Okay, well, I got to have a firewall in place to give internet. Everyone needs a firewall. Make sure antivirus is there, and that's about all you see most of the time. But you should have multi-layered security. Um, and we have a minimum of 5 different security layers that everybody should have.
Mhm.
But that's just one thing that I've noticed is security is usually very overlooked.
Yeah, and the other piece, you mentioned you have five security layers. So the other challenge that companies can run into, and even IT companies, is what are all the layers you should use, and then how, most importantly, any security layer you put is going to bring in a lot of noise. There's going to be tons of alerts. So how do you deal with the alerting, and do all the tools work the same? Do they go into a security information event monitoring tool or a SIM where everything can be parsed out and analyzed. So it can get very complicated very quickly if you've got tools that cannot all feed into at least one system to sort out what the real alerts are, which are not anything to worry about, and then to have the people to actually sort that out and make decisions on what needs to be done. At the same time, it helps to have artificial intelligence-based tools that can do a lot of that workload as well. But really, you need to be able to have insight and see everything. If you can't see it, it doesn't exist and it can hurt you. You need to be able to have the visibility, and then you have to have the ability to determine what is important and then act on it appropriately. So you can't just slap a bunch of tools on a network and hope that it's all okay. It all needs to be configured properly. You need to have a way to see what they're seeing and then act on it without, once again, hindering all the employees that are trying to get their job done. And that's a complicated task.
Yeah, yeah. And even if you are getting the alerts, you have to have it all organized, like you said, and have the staff that can actually go through it and pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another item that I wanted to bring up is file storage and
Mm-hmm.
computer management. And if you don't have, again, you're not in an office that has a server. That server is a lot of times hosting your files. It's also managing the partnership between the different computers, enforcing different policies, security, different things like that. So if you don't have that, everyone's remote, of course. So you need something in place that can be used to still manage those computers properly, enforce different security, but also something to store and host all your files.
Right.
And when you pick those items, security, is a big factor. You don't want, let's just say, there's, I don't know, let's just pick Box or Dropbox or Google Drive, whatever.
Yeah.
These different options. You don't want people, these remote staff, copying these files and putting them to their local computers and working on them.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have the word is escaping me, but you got to have these different security policies in place so that doesn't happen. Their computer could crash.
Yeah.
And then you lose those files that they've been working on. They could leave the company and take the files with them. So yeah, you got to have.
Yeah, the area you're talking about, you're kind of covering several areas. So it's really identity and access management. So being able to identify who these people are on the network, determining what access levels they should have. And then you're getting into data loss prevention. How do we keep people from taking files from the company and putting them wherever they want? All that goes in really deep. That has a significant cost tied to it. So it's definitely something that all businesses, especially in the compliance space, are going to have to do, whether it's HIPAA, whether it's CMMC, whether it's some finance compliance. They need to have certain pieces in place to make sure that employees aren't able to move data off to somewhere else and still access it. And if you fire someone and if they had copied the files over, you want to make sure that now they can't open them. So there's many layers to this. There's many different systems to do it, and you could piecemeal it all together, and it could be a big mess. There are some tools that you can get into that could cover most of it for you. Just off the top of my head, Microsoft 365 is one that now it seems like everyone is moving to anyway. So it kind of makes sense for that to be the identity and access management tool to use. Of course, it's not set up that way out of the box. You need to have it configured. So when, a small business, I don't know, even with 50 or 100 employees, thinks that you can just go and get Office 365 and it's going to work. As you and I know, there are tons of things to set up on the back end, ways to secure it. There's a ton of projects that come into play to do all that. I mean, I can think of just 5 projects off the top of my head to start getting to that point.
And getting it set up correctly.
Yeah, so there's a lot of know-how there. It's a huge undertaking, but it's definitely something that if someone is worried about employees walking away with data, even if it's client lists or projects that they're working on for clients that they don't want to get out, if you have a client that deals with the military or the government, they're not going to want that data out there. They don't even want anyone to know who's doing work for them. So that's where you really have to start tightening things up. But yeah, it's basically comes down to identity and access management and data loss prevention. So those are the two main areas that people need to ask their IT company about, or if they have internal IT, that's where they need to start researching.
Right, yeah. And along with what you were saying too, you can even enforce only approved devices can access those
Mm-hmm.
files. If you think of like Dropbox, for example,
Anyone
that
can
I
access
yeah,
that.
exactly. There's nothing in place to prevent them from going to their home computer, log into Dropbox on a web page, and then they got access to everything
Right.
on a device that's not secured. So yeah, I'd say is just kind of a summary of everything here. Just make sure that you talk with someone in IT that you can know and trust, and is an expert in the industry, and meet with them, talk with them,
Mhm.
um, and it'll at least bring up different points that maybe you haven't considered that you should take a look at.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. Talk to all the people that are smarter than you, like we do, even, find out what you don't know. We've covered a lot of what they should know here. But yeah, find a trusted source and get second and third opinions as well.
For sure. Last thing that I want to mention is a ebook that we have put together that I like to offer up to everybody. These are 11 security items that we very commonly find when we onboard a new customer
Mhm.
that previous IT companies haven't done, and they're very important. They're critical to your business, to your security operation, all of that. So anybody can go to this web address and download this ebook for free, and just use it as talking points with your existing IT. Go down the list together, make sure you got everything in place.
Yeah, that's a great resource that you're offering up there, and I really implore everyone to, that's watching this, download it, read it. Yeah, do it as you said. Use that to vet the companies you're talking to.
Yeah, very good. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, George,
Yeah, it's my
for coming on
pleasure.
with me. Yeah, everybody have a good day and stay safe.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.